Okay, hello everybody. I'm meteorologist Ashley Smith here in the First Alert Streaming Center. Just wanted to come on here because the National Hurricane Center has provided an update as of 2 p.m. So they had an intermediate advisory at 1 o'clock, which had information on Hurricane Milton, but now they have a more comprehensive update here at 2 o'clock. The 1 o'clock update had Milton with sustained winds of, with sustained winds of 145 miles per hour. It is still, it is continuing to weaken, which is good news. Obviously, it is still a very, very strong storm. And even though it is weakening, it still remains a Category 4 hurricane, barely though. 130 is right at the bottom threshold for a Category 4. So the next update, which there should be an intermediate advisory at probably 3 or 4. Let me look here. And then they'll have the comprehensive one again at 5 o'clock. Okay. So in this latest advisory, basically saying that Milton is growing in size. So that's the thing. So while the winds have weakened some, it is still growing in size. So that often happens. So when you have that really tight circulation with that hurricane, that's when the winds are the strongest, but it's kind of the smallest storm. It then kind of expands, but it also loses some of that wind speed. Still very strong hurricane, we know that, but yeah, so now it's a larger storm is what they're saying. Life-threatening storm surge, damaging winds, flooding, rains, all expected. So it is moving north-northeast at 16 miles per hour. So technically it slowed down a bit. It was moving at 17 miles per hour. And the pressure has risen. So that's a good thing too, because the lower the pressure, the higher that storm surge is going to be. Storm surge is still going to be a major, major problem. And we can dive into that as well. And I know for some of you, they brought down the storm surge. So that's good. They were initially saying 10 to 15 feet. It's now 9 to 13 feet. Still incredible storm surge. I will have to update all of this here coming up in a bit. But either way, basically the 2 o'clock update, if you're tuning in right now and you just want the nitty gritty, the 2 o'clock update shows that the storm wind speeds are weakening, but the storm itself is expanding. The storm surge has lessened because the pressure has risen, so that's good news too. Storm is still barreling toward Florida, of course. Ethan Emery is just now talking about how there are tornado warnings ongoing in that area. So still expected to make landfall this evening, but as you can see, and let me give you a better view. This is what we use for kind of in the corner of your screen. So let me show you kind of a different view of the actual hurricane. Here we go. There's actually a few that I could show you. Let me see this one. Okay. So remember yesterday, if you were with us yesterday afternoon on the shows, you could see the eye. I mean, the eye was really, really well-defined. There's no more well-defined eye. Again, still a very strong hurricane, but these are just some of the things that we look at to show that it has weakened some. Wind speeds yesterday, I mean, remember at one point, see, yesterday was Tuesday, one point Monday night, 180 miles per hour. So it has weakened considerably. Still a very strong hurricane, still a major hurricane, no matter what, but it is going to weaken, especially as kind of those outer bands are interacting with the land. And so what we look for is the center of the eye to move over top of land. So that's not going to happen until later this evening, but of course already tornado warnings ongoing. Of course, the hurricane warnings, the tropical storm warnings all along the coast. So that's all continuing. If you can see, it's kind of hard because I know there's a lot of colors here, but this kind of more reddish or magenta color, those are hurricane warnings, and then this orange are tropical storm warnings. Hurricane warnings on both coasts. The other update is where and when it's going to make landfall. And let me show you, I'll show you 2 different kind of ways to look at this. So obviously still a Category 4 hurricane right now. It is expected to weaken to a Category 3. Let me get out of the way here. Before it makes landfall. Barely though. I mean, and that's going to happen again. Sarasota is right in the path of direct landfall right there in Sarasota. Tampa, just north, is now still going to see some major impacts, but it's not going to take a direct hit necessarily. Now, when you look at the storm surge, you're looking at the worst of the storm surge is going to kind of be, because this is moving in this counterclockwise fashion. So I'll show you that storm surge, but really the worst of the storm surge is going to be a little bit south of where it actually makes landfall. So you're going to see that kind of here in Port Charlotte. Tampa still sees major impacts, but the storm surge maybe not quite as intense there. So expected to be a Category 3 storm, about 125 mile per hour winds. It's going to weaken more quickly once it moves on land compared to previous models. Still about a Category 1 in Orlando, about 85 mile per hour winds there. It moves out to sea very quickly. We're talking about it's already in the Atlantic Ocean by Thursday afternoon. And the west coast of Florida, honestly, it could be a beautiful day tomorrow afternoon. But obviously, they're going to be cleaning up the mess. Now, I want to show you, because I think that this one has a little bit more detail. Let me pull up. Jeff's talking about our cold weather around here. We'll talk about that. I'll show you the 7-day forecast. Obviously, right now I came on to kind of give you the latest with Milton, because I know that a lot of folks are paying attention to this. Seems like everybody knows somebody who is in Florida or who has property in Florida, whatever it may be. So while this is going to have no impact whatsoever on the tri-state, we just know a lot of folks are paying attention. So landfall will be this evening. It will be after sunset, so it's going to be a nighttime landfall. However, it's pushed up a bit. We initially thought it might be like midnight, 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now it looks like it's probably going to be tonight officially. That's when the eye moves right over top of land. But obviously, they're already seeing impacts. They've had tornado warnings all day today. They've had confirmed tornadoes. We've seen them on video. So this is already creating big problems. So it's expected to be a Category 3 storm. Again, those winds about 125 miles per hour. Remember, 130 is the bottom level of Category 4. That's where it is right now. So we're talking about it going down 5 miles per hour. So basically, it's a very strong Category 3 or a weak Category 4 at landfall. And then again, it moves inland so quickly. By tomorrow morning, the eye is over top of Orlando, or maybe just south of Orlando as a Category 1 storm. And that's exactly what happens when these hurricanes interact with land. They just weaken very quickly. Storm surge still looks to be the biggest threat with this storm. We've been working on this graphic, and I know it's still kind of hard to read, but they have adjusted this a little bit. This might not be the latest data. Let me see here. Yeah, so I don't think that's the latest data. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to draw it on here. Let's go to maybe this one. No, let's do this one. Okay. Here I can draw. Because storm surge, even though it's gone down, it's still going to be basically from Anna Maria Island. Okay. From Anna Maria Island, so it's south of Tampa Bay, barely, but Tampa Bay itself has 8 to 12 feet. But from Anna Maria Island all the way to Boca Grande, let me see if I can even see for these to pop up. This one's not going to generate that. So that is basically, I had the drawing feature and then I got rid of it. Okay, so it's basically roughly this area is where you're going to see the worst storm surge. So if Sarasota takes a direct hit, we expect the storm surge to be just south of there will be the worst, 9 to 13 feet in that area. But even Cape Coral is still included in 8 to 12 feet. So it's still very significant. North of here, including, again, Tampa Bay's 8 to 12 feet, and then you continue north and it drops pretty considerably. But basically, if you include Tampa Bay, you include Cape Coral, those areas are 8 to 12, then you get away from there and the storm surge is much better. It's 3 to 5 feet, 5 to 8 south. Again, south of the storm is where the storm surge is the worst because you have this counterclockwise flow. That's what's pushing all of that water. As a matter of fact, on this side, what's going to happen is the Cape kind of takes some of that water and then pushes it back out because on the north side, you're kind of pushing it out. So the area that I've circled in yellow is where you're going to see the worst storm surge, as high as 9 to 13 feet. So they have made a lot of changes with this 2 o'clock update. Some of them are minor, some of them are pretty big, but basically changing the time of landfall, it's moved up a bit. Also changing the height of the storm surge. It's going to be a little bit lower, still a major deal. That storm surge is still going to cause big problems. And then let's look at rainfall. I imagine that has not really changed very much. Still looking like about 16 inches will be the highest rainfall totals in this storm. And again, the winds are just going to be, let's see here, 125 miles per hour at landfall, and then weakening very quickly as it moves inland. Obviously, we've had a lot of evacuations, but some folks did decide to stay behind. I'm sure you all know somebody who either evacuated or stayed behind, and even if they evacuated, they're still very worried about their land or their property. And what they're going to find when they eventually get back. Power outages, as we know, are going to be a really big deal. So there's still, even though it is weakening as expected, it is still a major hurricane. So major hurricane is category 3 or higher, and it's expected to remain a major hurricane at landfall. Okay. What does your wife do, Scott, if you don't mind me asking? I'm assuming she's some sort of an essential, maybe she's a healthcare worker. That's too bad. Okay, Cherie is in Palm Coast, Florida, waiting it out, hoping for the best outcome. Lots of flooding in this area. Yeah, so obviously already starting to see some of those impacts. It was a Category 5, it will not be Category 5 anymore, unless once it moves out to sea and then it re-energizes, but that's not expected to happen, and I don't think that it will ever regain Category 5 strength. As a matter of fact, it's expected to continue to weaken even as it moves into those warm waters. So, the Gulf itself is just exceptionally warm right now. We've had some of those buoys reading temperatures in the mid 80s, 86 degrees. And then what Steve Horstmeyer pointed out is that not only is it warm at the surface, but it's warm very far down. You often think when you jump in a body of water, maybe like at the surface, you're like, oh, this actually feels pretty nice in the summer at least. And then maybe you go under and you maybe swim down and all of a sudden it gets cold. I mean, it kind of happens in a swimming pool too. It's always warmer at the surface. Well, the warm water is actually very far. Very deep. It goes, sea found in some places 150 feet, it's still in the 80s. I mean, that's just incredible. So the warm water is, one of the best things to fuel a hurricane. So let's again see what's happening with it right now. That is not what I did. Okay. Yeah, I realize now that I need to, because I updated the website with the 1 o'clock information, but it's changed so much that now I have to update the website again because we want to make sure that we're continuing to give you the latest information on this because it's changing so rapidly. You know what? This is actually a good graphic, even though I do need to adjust this. Let me go into that. Because you can see when we kind of loop through, look at how initially, so this doesn't have a time. Well, let me see. 12 hours ago. So this was at 2 o'clock this morning. Look at how well defined that eye it was. And then you go into the future to look at how that eye just disintegrates basically. So again, really showing that the storm is weakening still. Again, I want to, stress, it's still a very, very strong hurricane, a major hurricane. It's going to have major devastation, but it is weakening. So, and that's exactly what we expected We said this all day yesterday that while, at one point yesterday, actually I think at 2 different times yesterday, it was a Category 5 hurricane, but expected it to weaken to a 3 or 4 when it made landfall, and that's exactly what it's doing. So the forecast has actually been very precise with this, which is always nice, gives people a more advanced notice and a good location of where, of course, that storm's going to be. So actually I'm going to adjust this a little bit more too. In that yellow circle, actually, let me go back to a different map. I'm going to adjust this to, let's do 6 hours. Okay. Let me see if this one I can. So that yellow circle that I drew included basically south of Tampa, including, what is this, Bradenton? So it included Bradenton, Sarasota. Sarasota right now looks like is right where it's going to make landfall. I mean, directly right at Sarasota. I'm assuming that's Vamo, Venice, Woodmere, Inglewood, Rotunda, basically all the way to Cape Coral. So from Cape Coral to Tampa Bay is where the highest storm surge is going to be. Basically from Sarasota south is where it's going to be the worst if it makes direct landfall in Sarasota. Areas south of that is where you'll see the worst storm surge. To basically Cape Coral. If you're south of Cape Coral, it gets better, but you're still going to see a lot of storm surge there as well. I don't. Nicole says, my mom and brother in Sarasota, praying they will be safe and everyone else. Yes, hopefully everybody is okay, but the wording from these officials has been very strong. That, it's looking like it's going to be, widespread devastation. Okay, so again, let's just recap this. I'll show you our 7-day forecast, and then we'll get off because we have to be on the air at 3. Or some people have to be on the air at 3, and I have to be off of this computer. So with the 2 o'clock update, we just got the 2 o'clock advisory, which this still on the home page isn't updated, but we know that the graphics are updated. So as of 2 p.m., the sustained winds are 130 miles per hour compared to the last update, it was 145, so they have weakened. That is the lowest level of Category 4, so likely our next update, it'll be a Category 3, is moving north-northeast at 16 miles per hour. Expected to make landfall this evening. I'll show you that as well. Probably around, I would say anywhere between 9 p.m. and midnight is when it will officially make landfall as a Category 3 storm, winds of about 125 miles per hour, very close to Sarasota, but basically anywhere. The cone right now is basically from Tampa Bay to Cape Coral, with Sarasota being kind of right in the center. And then it weakens considerably. It's a Category 1 by the time it moves into Orlando with wind speeds of 85 miles per hour. So that landfall should be sometime this evening, as early as 9 p.m., I'd say as late as midnight. And then as it moves inland, it will slow down, but it will also weaken significantly. Storm surge still looks to be the main threat. However, they have lowered the storm surge originally it was 10 to 15 feet. It's now 9 to 13 feet. So getting more and more precise as it gets closer. Still, that is devastating. In some of these areas with Helene, they had 5 to 7 feet, and that caused a lot of damage. So you're still doubling that in some locations. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what some of the other updates are. So it's going to make landfall a little bit earlier than initially thought, but still going to be tonight, which is what we've always said, tonight or into the overnight hours. So that's still accurate. It is weakening, but it's expanding in coverage. So it's a larger storm, but a weaker storm because it doesn't have that tight circulation. It's kind of spread out like this. So that's why the winds have, and also it's getting sheared out. Basically, there's some winds aloft that are helping to weaken it, which is good. The pressure has risen, which is good. Basically, the lower the pressure, the higher that storm surge. So now that the pressure has increased so much, which is, again, a good thing, the storm surge has come down some. But still, sustained winds of 130 miles per hour, gusts of 175, still a very strong storm, a major hurricane at landfall later on this evening. So as of right now, let's see, let's measure this actually. Still about 120 miles from Sarasota. Let me see if that's what this advisory says. Oh, wait. Oh, so it says about 150 miles southwest of Tampa, 130 miles west of Fort Myers. So yeah, this is pretty accurate. So we figure, hold on. Let's see. And that's as of 2 p.m., so that's this latest information. So if it is 130, so it's saying it's about 8 hours from landfall if it maintains that speed. So again, that would be like 10:30. So between 9 p.m. and midnight. That's exactly right. Perfect. Okay. So that's what we can expect. Landfall this evening as a major hurricane, likely a Category 3, winds of about 125 miles per hour, storm surge 9 to 13 feet in the worst area, which is going to be Sarasota south. Even just barely north of that area, you're still looking at 8, what was it? Hold on. Let me get this accurate. 8 to 12 feet, just barely north and south of that area. And then it gets less once you spread out. So in the worst storm surge, you're looking at 9 to 13 feet. Just outside of that area, 8 to 12 feet. And then outside of that, you get even less. So devastating storm surge, lots of flooding on top of it, like flooding rains, on top of it. And there are many tornado warnings ongoing as well. So this storm has everything. You know what? Actually, that's not what I meant to do. I want to see if there are, how many power outages there are right now. So not bad, actually. So far, there are about 3,000 right along the coast, basically hovering around around Tampa. And then around the rest of the state, there's another about 1,500. So starting to see the power outages, but these are going to increase. They're saying there could be millions without power for a long period of time. So the worst is yet to come. I know that's always never a good thing to say when you're already experiencing really bad conditions and you say the worst is yet to come. You know what? I didn't do this ahead of time, so we're going to check this out together, but let's see if there's any live views. Okay, so here we go. A reporter, I think he's with CNN, right there along the beach. I'm not sure exactly where he is. I didn't look this up ahead of time. Yeah, some of these are going to be some of our other stations. Wow, I only have one. Well, you know what? Probably because it's leading up to the newscast. This is the only one that we have right now. But obviously not a great day at the beach, right? Getting pretty battered there. And again, when we say the worst is yet to come and it already looks like that, you have a good idea of what to expect for the rest of the day. So we will have the latest, of course, coming up on Fox 19. Let me show you our 7-day forecast just so that I can give you the local forecast. Hello, Darren. He just said hello. Hi. Okay. Our weather is beautiful. There's not much more to say. We do see a very small chance for rain Sunday and Monday. It's a very small chance for rain and warmer weather this weekend. Saturday, 80. Sunday turns windy, gusts of about 25, 30 miles per hour, 78 degrees for your high, and then we get chilly once that disturbance moves through. Those temperatures drop. Look at Tuesday morning. Some spots will be in the 30s. So that's our local forecast. Again, we'll be talking a lot about Hurricane Milton coming up. Of course, there are a lot of local ties. A lot of folks will be let me change this. A lot of folks will be sending aid down there, those types of things. So we'll have all of that covered as well. So let's do 3. Still glitchy. All right. Yeah, we've got some bad data. Okay. Yes, so we will have much more starting at 3 o'clock on Fox 19 Now, so that's very soon, and throughout, of course, the rest of the day as it makes landfall this evening, and then, of course, kind of the aftermath, the cleanup, all of that tomorrow as well. So make sure you tune in to Fox 19 Now. I hope that everybody Wesley Chapel is far enough inland that it should be fine, and they're far enough north, Bridget. So Wesley Chapel should be fine. I mean, they're still going to have some impacts, but they're not going to be like wiped off the map. They're far enough north that the storm surge isn't as much of a big deal, and they're far enough inland that the wind should weaken enough then too. So yeah, still going to have some very strong winds and could cause some damage, but again, not going to see the worst of it there. Okay, so again, thank you everybody. You're welcome. Thank you everybody for asking your questions, tuning in, all that, and we'll see you coming up here at 3 o'clock on Fox 18 Now.